dentist and who at one stage was deputy chair of this council. Is it the same person?
Yes.
I have no idea.
Yes,
Is he a doctor?
Yes,
Does he
he is.
doctor in front of his name? Yeah, okay.
Pro forma councillor, do you wish to speak in favour of the motion after
Yes,
hearing that
I
opening
will
remark?
speak, Mr Chairman. This has come out of left field for me, but I think that it may have some merit. But firstly, I want to say this. I have a lot of respect for Murray Douglas. There's absolutely nothing in my thinking in this debate about his unsuitability. I have nothing against Mr Douglas whatsoever. However, I am concerned that we head into this coming election with a clean slate, and I believe that this is an alternative that allows that and provides us with 9 councillors, if that's what the council wants. I have the greatest respect for, this is news to me too, Dr Marshall. I know him well. I was on the first council with him, and he has kept himself abreast with current affairs. I believe that this would be an appointment that has quite some merit.
Mr Chairman, I really have to ask why we're not appointing. The suggestion hasn't been that Mr Aaron Gilmore, recently an MP who's now looking for a position, isn't suggested as an appointee. We're looking at a vacancy in the Hastings constituency. I don't believe that, and I'm not sure of what the convention is with the title, but my understanding is that Mr Marshall has neither a PhD nor, by convention, a medical degree. However, he is a Napier resident of long standing, and in no way is this a consideration of the matters as to who should appoint Hastings. And I go back to my previous point that there is a lot of work going on, not up front in council meetings, but with council representation on various groups. And one of the appointees for that group was Mrs von Dadelszen, and they're looking for a replacement who's a Hastings constituency member who knows the issues in Hastings. So quite seriously, I cannot see that adding another appointee from Napier is any more relevant than adding somebody from Christchurch or from somewhere else. So I'm sorry, I do not support that suggestion.
No other speakers? Councillor Rem as well.
Well, just to clarify, it is possible, of course, as you know, to nominate somebody who doesn't live in the electorate, as long as the two, the nominator and seconder, do live in the electorate. So that means that technically David Marshall is feasible, although that doesn't take away from the fact that the other reasons still stand. But Mr Chair, if you really do feel that we do need to have 9 people around this table, well, you know, this is an option which is fairer, and I, you know, as I say, this council should not really taint its reputation by indulging in politicking. And if we do make an appointment of somebody who has clearly said that they may be standing at the election, whereas David Marshall is not, then that really makes us look as if we are giving a steer to the public of Hastings in the way we think that they should vote, and it's giving Mr Douglas a very unfair advantage. So having said that, also we could be here all day going through candidates, so, but I do support Councillor Curtin's recommendation.
Mr Chairman, I can't support it on the basis that it needs to be a person who can truly represent the Hastings constituency. And I also think that some of the speakers around this table who are alleging political motives and interference and so on should be a little careful, because if you live in a glass house, you don't throw stones.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, it's becoming more and more apparent as the debate unfolds that there's an air of desperation around getting Mr. Douglas into office. Mr. Chairman, it does beg the question as to why and the wherefores and the communications that have been had, and I look forward, perhaps the next tranche in this discussion will probably reveal even more about what's transpired, who's said what to whom, and why we're in this position of having a debate when the consequences are clearly not of great influence on council in that three-month period, where we've got and had the situation before us over the last 3 years, in fact, where our councillor numbers have been at 8. There's nothing magical about having a complement of 9, and I'm suggesting here that we're in danger of fulfilling that view that Councillor Remerswell's put forward of being seen to be politicking and interfering in the due electoral processes that are the right and domain of Hastings citizens and not 4 councillors around this table.
I'll put the motion then. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Against? Councillor Gilbertson? You abstain. Thank you. I will move from the chair. (2.1) with Murray Douglas as the candidate. Seconded Councillor Rose. In speaking to that,
can there be questions on this?
I will cover your question on the way through, if you're implying something, Councillor. In moving this, quite simply, the candidate is the next one on the list. As has happened, and I heard Mr. Gilmore's name mentioned previously, the government does not navel gaze quite so hard as people sitting around this table. The next person on the list moves up. It's quite simple. They then have a full complement of people to make decisions on behalf of this country going forward. Now, Hawke's Bay, while some of us might like to think it is a country, it's a very important region, and we do very important work in that region. And on that basis, and that basis alone, the next candidate is appropriate to come up, especially with the closeness of his missing out on the previous round. My discussion with Murray Douglas is quite simple. I spoke to him and said, would you be available? And he said yes. And that's it. Seconder, you wish to speak?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I endorse your remarks. I'm happy to second Murray Douglas for this position. It's just amazing how waters can be muddied and accusations and stones thrown. To my knowledge, there's been no deals done. Certainly, I haven't done any deal. I've never had any intention of doing one, and I'm not quite sure what deal I could do if I was supposed to do one. But to my knowledge, there's no deals being done. What we're doing is just simply following a normal convention. The difference in this one is that the time frame is a little close, and I accept that. The time frame is a little close. But nevertheless, as Councillor Scott rightly said, this council has before it at the present moment an immense workload, a heavy workload. And I think it is proper and fair to the constituents of Hastings to appoint the next person on the ladder to fulfil the position so the interests of the Hastings constituents are represented and protected over this 4 or 5 months' time. I've not heard Mr. Douglas say that he was a candidate, was to be a candidate at the 2013 elections. Maybe I missed something, but I certainly haven't seen that reported in the media. The only candidate that I've seen out making a public statement has been the Honourable Mr. Barker. And I'm sure he will make a strong showing at the election. But there are no no deals. We are just simply following a normal convention, appointing the next on the list to fulfil the position in the short term. I support, and Mr Douglas, in my view, will fulfil that position admirably.
Yeah, Mr Chairman, two questions. The first one is that the government has seen through the Act to consider it an option not to reappoint. You have the view that it's vital to reappoint, so presumably your opinion is no less valid than the opinion not to appoint, because if your opinion was correct, the government would give you no choice. They would say you have to reappoint. So my question is, why do you think it's so important when the government doesn't that we appoint someone? Why do you think it's absolutely vital when the Act says it's not?
Point of order, Mr Chairman. That's outside this debate. We had that discussion.
Mr Chairman,
Order, everyone, please. Okay. Relax. Crikey, this is a very simple process. Well, you ask a question. What's your second question? I have no answer to your question, nor should I answer it.
Oh, well, I'll make that as a point. The second question is to clarify this question of who's done who to what behind the scenes. Could we have an answer? Has any councillor other than yourself approached? It does, because you
Councillor,
yeah,
order.
Mr Chairman,
people can talk to whoever they like about whatever they like.
Okay.
Continue with the debate, please.
So the question I'm asking is that there's been talk about deals, and you yourself said to Mr Curtin, oh, you've made a deal with Mr Marshall, so that the yes, okay, so I'm asking for clarification so that everyone can be clear about who said who to what, or I think it would be interesting to, I'd like to ask the question, which you can rule out of order if you wish. We haven't had the question yet.
The question is, you want to ask if others have talked to Murray Douglas, is that right?
Has any other, why is it out of order?
If you like,
I'm
Councillor,
asking why it's out
you
of
can
order.
watch us through the window if you like as well.
Could I have an answer to the question as why it's out
No,
of order?
you cannot.
It's just that
Continue, or any other speakers
Okay, thank you.
wish to speak.
Yes, I do want to speak, Mr Chairman, and I find it somewhat disingenuous of my colleague, Councillor Rose, to say that he doesn't know that Mr Douglas is standing at the election because Mr Douglas has told him that. And there's been discussion between the two,
Look,
so I
this
can't...
is order. No, order, please, everyone. Come on.
I didn't say that.
There's a decision to be made shortly.
Sure.
You're either for it or you're against it,
Well,
Councillor,
Mr.
quite
Chairman,
simply.
This whole unfortunate debate gets down to the position of 4 councillors around the table and 4 others who disagree. Clearly, we've got yourself as the casting vote, and I assume that's if you're talking about breaking conventions, it's we've had several broken already. The convention is you don't fill the vacancy so close to an election. That's one convention. The second one is that the chair doesn't exert his casting vote to breach the status quo. So those conventions are broken, and to suggest that the convention now is to fill the vacancy from the next candidate on the list is a little hollow in that sense. Mr Chairman, this is about discussions being held. This is discussions between councillors and a prospective candidate, and there's no way of avoiding that reality that there is an agenda, that there is politicking going on by some councillors, and this is a breach of our responsibility to remain neutral in the entire process. There is odium on the council as a result.
I'd like to draw this to a close at some stage before 10:30 if we could. Councillor Rem as well.
Chair, just can I ask a question, please? And when was it that Mr Douglas indicated he was available for this position, please?
In a time, obviously, from when Councillor Dadelszen stepped down and today.
Well, can you say when you spoke to him, please?
No, why would I do that? I asked him if he was available, he said yes. Do you wish to continue in the debate, Councillor?
Yeah, well,
Do you have a point to make?
no, I just want to ask that question. I'll reserve my right to speak, Mr Chair.
No, you're right. We're moving on. We've got a full day ahead of us. I can't believe the actions of a few people here. Anyone else wish to speak? Councillor Scott.
Yes, Mr Chairman, I wasn't going to speak, but I feel I must since it's been talked about deals being done. I'll put my hand up and say, I spoke to Mr Douglas in December last year when I bought some fruit from his orchard, and I talked to him about orcharding and his crop for that year. I resent being told that I'm making any decision on grounds of deals. I'm merely looking at the workload. I've heard a councillor say, council winds down. This council is not going to wind down. It's got too much on its plate. It can't afford to wind down. Needs to keep its total focus on this, and as I say, it's not just the attendance at the meetings that concerns me, it's attendance at all the other commitments that councillors have, and seeing that we meet the program that is expected from the community in the way of community decisions, and that's especially around the planning aspect of this council. And I think at the moment that is an extraordinarily heavy workload. I think when you have a look at the work plan looking forward and see how much is on the plate with that, you'll realise that we actually keep working. And that's the only reason I'm supporting the appointment at this stage, and according to convention, is the next highest polling candidate on representing that constituency. That's what I wish to say, Mr. Chairman.